Going live. Doop doop doo doop 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 doo doo doo. Doop doop doo doop 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 doo. We need
Is
a
that the
better
going live
song.
song?
Yeah, we need a better song. Sorry, everyone. Hello. I bet you guys are all whoever's usually watches this or has seen this before is notices a big change in everyone. Uh, it's me, Tenkun over here, your host. I'd like to introduce our group of usuals with their new looks. We got Jessica. Hello, Jessica.
Can you hear me?
Oh, there you go.
Okay.
Yep, we got Jessica. We got Vinny, the baseball.
Now with a 200% bigger head. Thank you.
It's because you're leveling up, Vinny.
That's right.
And we got Albert, the suave looking guy. Look at that.
I would
Businessman.
push my glasses up, but it doesn't quite have that animation.
Uh, so I'd like to thank everyone for joining us in the beginning here. Welcome to OreAni 2022 end of winter season. Now this season kind of started kind of lackluster for all of us, right? We weren't really expecting too much from this season, or didn't really, I guess, care for a lot of the titles that were being released. But I have to say, after watching what I have seen and seen how much I've seen, it's been a while since I've actually watched this many titles or finished this many titles. So I guess I got a little more out of it than usual.
Yeah, I watched a fair amount, and it ended up being a pretty decent season. I think next season is going to be pretty busy.
Yeah, that's what I'm seeing as well. Let's see here. We're going to go ahead and start with something that kind of was supposed to end last season but didn't, and we had to wait until like maybe a few weeks ago until it finally finished. And that's 86. Ba-da-da-dum. So, Vinny, Albert, did you guys ever get started into it, or just you never watched it from the beginning? I can't remember.
I watched a few episodes of the first core, then decided that it's. I think I want to stick to a little bit more happier stuff, so I kind of skipped over the second core.
Yeah, I did not watch any of it. Wasn't really that interested.
All right, and I believe Jessica, you just probably shy of the last a few episodes, right? Or
Yes, I really liked the first season quite a bit. The second season, and so I was waiting for it to all come out, and then just kind of didn't watch a whole lot of anime this uh, season.
so, I'm going to put up our thing. I forgot to do that. Sorry. Possible spoilers for anyone who hasn't seen any of 86. Um, so 86 has now just ended, and to me, the ending was really really good, and uh, it brought some kind of happiness to me, as well as it destroyed my heart as well at the same time, right? So, 86, of course, is this kind of like robotic mecha anime, but in a very dark way, versus your, uh, I guess all robotic animes are kind of dark in a way, right? I don't know too many that are happy. But this one goes full on war. You have these drones that are controlled by AI that were made by the Grand Empire. Can't remember like what the whole official name is of it. And they were made to, of course, conquer and destroy your enemies. But they ended up turning on the Empire, as well, and supposedly destroyed them in the process. And the District 85, which is with the Albas, the silver-haired people, um, they're basically relaxing and waiting until the drones, which are supposedly have a lifespan of only 6 years or something like that. So, with all the time that's passed, it should be only 2 more years until they're become unoperable, and they're waiting for that time and using what they refer to as their own drones to defeat the enemy. But in actuality, you find out the drones are not drones, but the group of 86s that they call, which they don't even treat as humans. So that's why they say they're manless drones, because they're not humans. And in the first season, we get through the whole squadron of Spearhead being just utterly destroyed, and also learning the life of each member and getting hurt in the same process because of you know about them, you like happy for them, and then they're gone. So at the end of the first season, we believe the Spearhead squadron is totally destroyed. Season 2 comes out, and you find out that Shin, the main character, has survived, along with I think it's 4 other members, and they're brought to this group of people that used to be with the old Republic or the old Empire, and they're rebuilding, and that they're also trying to also fight back to take back everything, and because of these 86s, which are just basically children. I believe they're only around 16 years old or something like that right now. These the Empire people, or whatever they're called, I can't remember, don't want them to fight anymore, saying that they've already fought enough, that their time is done, that they no longer need to fight, and are treating them very poorly, or not poorly, but kind of like pitying them almost. It seems like, oh,
Kind of
you poor,
condescendingly.
yeah, like, oh, you poor 86s, you never had a chance to live your life. Now you can live your life and be free. Well, all they want really is just to kind of, they actually want to go back to war. That's their thing, that they want to take back the land, and it's a weird feeling that they have about it, and the people can't understand it. Why would these children want to go to war? Why would they want to go back to that hell and everything? And throughout this whole thing, we get some more characters introduced, just for fodder to kill, and even some characters get some really bad flags waved, that you're just sitting there going, "Oh my gosh, he's totally dead. He just said that." And but the new opposition was, I guess, still kind of the same family members, because like in the first one, the main enemy, or the main person the Undertaker Shin was fighting, was his big brother that was uh, kind of controlling the main enemies, and he was able to defeat him in the first season. Now the second season, you find out it's another member of his family, but it's like a cousin or something like that. So you kind of find and realize that these family members are actually really good at battle and stuff. So, but Shin now has to fight him, and he's always been, because the cousin was actually like a guard to the princess or something like that, or to the royal family, and was really good at what he did. and now Shin has to fight him, and because of how Shin is, he's always kind of compared to that other family member quite often by some other characters. But I'm trying not to give out too much information, but it's really it's really amazing, and it has a lot of twists and turns in the battles and how these characters are going through all these choices in their life, especially the beginning, because it starts off really laid back and low, and you can see that the war's happening while these 86s are just living in their life, being pitied by everyone else, like, oh, these poor children, oh, we'll give you a life that you deserve, you don't have. And you could just see them in the background noticing the war's going on, and they're getting that itchy feeling that they should be out there. And those scenes are really, really powerful, I believe, in how they portrayed that. And it was just like, oh man. And then them even trying to fight back and try to argue that you guys are just children, you should be out there. And they're like, this is what we do, we want to be out there. I'm not.
The direction is definitely the strong point of the series because Teg mentioned that, yeah, there are some flags where, okay, you know that this guy is going to die. But the way it's directed and shot and framed, it's still brutal. So even though there are some parts that are predictable or cliche, the direction is not. And that is what I really like about 86 as a whole.
Yeah. Um, Usually when watching 86, we would watch an episode of 86 and then we would watch an episode of something super happy. Because
Yeah.
this show is. You don't want to go to sleep with this show in your mind.
No, you gotta chase it with something happy.
Yeah. All the people I know that have watched it really enjoyed it and really respected it for what it was trying to tell. And I hope more people would kind of watch it. I can get why people don't because it's mecha and some people don't like the mecha thing, but it's better than some isekais out there, okay?
Yeah.
But I'm not going to say anything about the end. The end was all I'll say is wonderful. I was, like I said, I was saddened and happy at the same time, and there are a lot of 0.7, 0.5, or 17.5, 18.5 episode thingies because of all the holdups, but I didn't watch.
Is it safe to say that all of the 0.5 episodes are the recaps so they can be safely skipped?
I want to say that, but I never watched any of them.
Actually, I think Albert, you sent me a list of the. Was it you or Sean sent me a list of the ones that were the recaps? I'll have to find that.
It wasn't me. It must have been
Okay, it
Sean.
must have been Sean then.
Yeah, I didn't watch any of the recaps, and I still got a really good idea of what everything was going, and everything seemed to be going in a steady flow. I will mention that they do a lot of time jumps and everything, so pay attention to the dates and stuff if you really want to know what's going on in certain areas. But other than that, great show. I can't complain about it. Let me go down here now to the next title. Oh, don't move over there. Where are we? Winter season. Next up. Oh, this show, Akebi. Woohoo! So this is called Akebi-chan no Seirufuku. Vinny, you want to say anything? Start us off.
Uh, I'll let Albert start out first.
All right, so Akebi's Sailor Uniform, which is the English title, is just about this one girl in the country, and she is the only student in her class in this, in this rural community, and she applies to a prestigious private academy, and this is going for middle school, and this is going to be the first time she's going to have classmates. And the reason she chose this school is because her mom went to this school, and she is enamored with the sailor uniform. But when she finally gets to school with her mom, they both realize that the school has changed their uniform into blazers, you know, and not the sailor uniform. And so she's given a choice that, well, you could just come with your sailor uniform. You will stand out, but you could do that. And so Akebi decides that she does want to do that and wear it proudly. And she is trying to make friends with everyone in her class, which is a small class of 16 other girls. So this is all, girl private academy. And it's a slice of life. It's based on a manga, fairly popular. I've read a couple of volumes of it. Um, the animation is by Cloverworks. It is gorgeously done. It's one of, I think, two or three series that they did this season, and they definitely put a lot of money towards this one. The PV alone is worth, watching. There's a lot of eye animation that some people may be a little bit freaked out by because it's overly large and expressive, but that's just a style. There's also the mangaka, the manga author is obviously has a foot fetish. So there's a lot of shots of girls' toes, feet, legs. So that was interesting that the director decided to keep that and animate it quite in detail. And it's a female director. Her name is Miyuki Kuroki, and I believe this is her first time fully directing. She's been assistant and episode directing, and before that, she was an animator. But yeah, it's a very wholesome slice of life. There's no real conflicts between the classmates. They're all voiced competently. In fact, one of the most talkative classmates, Usagiara, um, she's voiced by Akari Kito, who voices Nezuko and Demon Slayer. So quite the opposite. She gets to perform the hell out of the classmate role. So kind of interesting. Yeah, and it's just a slice of life. So if you like that genre, if you like beautiful animation, top quality animation, and a very relaxed, uh, yeah, very relaxed episodes, you can check out Akebi's Sailor Uniform. Vinny, what did you think?
It sure was an eye-catching series. Yes, you said this was one of the three series Cloverworks released in this single season. I watched two of the three. I didn't watch the third one, and most of the time it's very beautiful to look at. For those who's a big fan of a sort of idyllic country scenery, there's plenty of those to look at. For those who's a fan of a school series, there's plenty of that too. There's a little bit of a fan service aspect of it too, but not as much as manga. So they did good job cutting down a bit as their middle schooler emphasizing too much of that kind of gets very uncomfortable to look at, and I think they did good job avoiding most of that. As for the characters, there's feel of sort of a eeriness to it. Not strongly emphasized, but if you watch the whole series, there's always kind of a are they an item or are they not an item? There's a little bit of that too, but I think it gives enough times on some of the core students members to sidestep on that issue, I guess. Um, it feels bit like a fairy tale-ish, and I don't know if it's intentional or not, but Akebi's house literally looks like those house from the fairy tale. From the shape of the house is very unconventional looking, but it's very interesting to look at and how it's kind of the house is literally fairy tale-ish through and through. Mm. And the whole Akebi being the only student in the elementary school very much reminds me of the another series, Non Non Biori, where the boonies with the dwindling populations and there's a very few students in the school kind of thing. Um, Overall, it's very enjoyable to watch. Full on drama, but light-hearted drama, and there's a little bit of sparkle of a youth's kind of thing going on with everybody doing their best to live up to their lives. So that's my take on it.
So, uh, Vinny, on your whole Yuri thing,
Hmm.
I kind of had that feel, but I didn't really say it was Yuri. I was kind of more like, isn't Shoujo Ai kind of a lesser version of Yuri, right?
Yeah, it's that. I mean, it's not like a full blown like a citrus, but it does give a little bit hint. But then again, it's all girls' school, so I suppose it's assumed to be okay to have a little bit of that. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's someone.
So I'm
Someone can type on that.
yeah. I'm gonna admit I also got those kind of vibes. It kind of reminded me of like how I felt when I was watching Sound and Phonium with
Hmm.
those two girls, always being so close to each other. You're like, oh my god, are they going to kiss? But it doesn't happen. It's just there's that they have some of these moments where they're just really close with each other and just kind of have this like little flirtation thing going on. But of course, nothing ever comes of it. But it's just I think it's just fan service or eye candy for some people. But
I guess it's just the personality of Akebi. She seems to be like a natural flirtatious without actually meant to be. I mean, her outgoing, friendly nature kind of sort of come up as those shoujo eye Uranus to it, depending on the classmate that she's interacting with.
yeah. The other thing about the show is like I kind of a group of us that have been watching it kind of hope there'll be a season two. The reason being is that although the show did kind of show a lot of the group members or the other girls in the class, we didn't get a lot of episodes that focused on entirely a lot of the other classmates. Like one of my friend wanted to know more and more about the girl with the platinum hair because he loves those kind of platinum hair color characters. But all we got was like this one like little 7 minute scene or something like that. While
I
some
think your friend is lolly. Yeah.
well some other characters got full episodes just dedicated to them. But there's plenty of classmates in there that all have unique characters. And the thing I also thought was it kind of was off to me at the beginning, but then near the middle and stuff, I was kind of appreciative of what they did. Was that they all the characters had different eyes. Like not all of their eyes were the same. Some were very narrow, some were droopy, some were very open, some were like almond shape, as they would call it, right? So they had a very distinct look for each character rather than all the other classmates having you know the same eye, same jawline, but just different hairstyles or something like that. So that was also kind of fun to see how all the characters were drawn differently within this classroom, and um, Also, how Akibi helped all her classmates through some kind of issue, and it's not like necessarily that she's helping them by um, encouraging them or pushing them. It's just that they see how she's living her life and how things are going because of her upbeat attitude, which just makes them want to change themselves. So I thought that was also kind of fun thing within this show, rather than that character always getting into everyone's business and trying to tell them we should be doing it. Some of them just basically were like, I can't believe how she lives her life. Maybe I could try it that way myself and change themselves, which was pretty fun. Plus, that ending song was beautiful. I love the ending song. The opening song's cool too. Anyone else have any questions or anything about this? We can move on. I was thinking of going to Arifureta, but all I can say about this show is that if you watch the first part, first season, I would
It's a,
say the
it's a lot better.
it got a lot better as far as the monster animation, I would say. But as far as the whole story goes, I thought it was kind of still meh. I mean,
Well, when we reviewed the first season, you loved it. You said you loved the manga or the light novel,
oh
whichever
yeah,
one you were reading at the time.
yeah, I love the light novel. The anime though, eh. I mean, I'm still gonna watch it and view it, but I just wish they would have done more. There's just so much content and stuff that I believe that is glossed over or changed that isn't as great as they put it in the show. And I was actually surprised by how more open they were with some things that I kind of thought they were kind of keeping down low in the first season, like uh, Hajime sexuality with the other members that they end up sharing within this show. So that was kind of surprising because I don't think they really depicted anything sexual happening, really. Maybe this lovey-dovey vibe, what they always said, but I don't think they really give a vibe saying that they were having any sexual encounters, but that was all dispelled within the second season. Now you know what's actually going on. But I mean, if I were to say anything about this show, I would say the first. I would read the light novels, and then if you wanted to, or just too lazy, then go to this anime. But it's not going to be that much. It's not going to be too enjoyable. Sorry, someone came in my room. I was like, yeah. Is that why you didn't watch it, Albert? You didn't think it was going to be much of a
No, I
change?
mean, I didn't finish the. Yeah, I did not watch the first season. I just watched people's recap, hate viewing of it, which was entertaining. And I just checked out the first episode, just to see if the animation had improved or not. It was still the same kind of trash story to me. And then I started watching episode 12 and I realized the climax happened in episode 11. So I watched that just to see what was going on. And basically, I don't miss anything in between. So that's why I only marked it down as a partial. It is what it is. It's eh. It's totally not my thing. I think there are better, entire classroom isekai series out there. But if you want your edge lord protagonist, this is the one.
So, Albert, did you want to talk
Yes.
about Doll's Frontline or anything? Or...
No, I dropped it after 2 episodes.
Okay, the next one we got going here is. Oh, I don't have the title card. They didn't put it in here. How dare they? Um, Give me a second. I'm going to hide this title card real quick. The next one is The Realist Hero Part 2, I believe. I will say it's pretty crappy animation still. It's kind of like Arifureta, where I was like really excited based off of the source, and after watching it, it was more meh than it was anything else. But the thing about it that I found out in some episodes, which I was even criticizing and making fun of, I think actually, maybe it wasn't this show, I think it was maybe a different show. But this show actually had a really, really good ending. And for the second season, or the part two. So it gave us this big info drop of something that surprised a lot of the group of friends that we were watching this with, and they were like, "Wow, that was just crazy." So if you're, but I would say everything in between was kind of boring to me. I mean, I've read the light novel, so I knew what was going to happen, and even in the light novels, I thought that section was really boring. So I'm not going to say it's the animation or show's fault in that. It's just to me that this was basically the aftermath after the war, and them dealing with domestic problems and stuff. So with them trying to get some new reforms, them trying to deal with the um, aftermath of the war of Armenia, whatever they call it. So it wasn't all that exciting to me, but you know, we still watched it. We got through it, but yeah, I would just say though, the last episode was really worth it though. Next up, we got what's this called in English again? It's called Hozo. Sorry, Hakazume, Police in a Pod, right? I think it's something like that.
Yeah, Police in a Pod.
So, you finished this? Wow, how was it?
I'm the only one who watched that, huh? It's surprisingly decent series. Anybody who kind of dropped that after the first episode, I can certainly understand, because it looks quite terrible, and it's not really the fault of the animation. It's actually the original material, which is a manga. The drawing is quite atrocious. Each one of those, it never wins any points, style points. It has that crude look to it, and quite bugged out too. Especially the earlier part of the series, everybody looks quite disturbed, and I can see why that could be a huge turnoff for people kind of used to looking very polished and slick looking series, because this is anything but. But the strong point of this series is um, demystifying the whole virtue of the police work. I guess in our country here, it's not all that new, since there's a lot of materials discussing the whole taking the luster off of a glorified police work. But I guess in Japan, that's something of a new thing, since they're kind of expected to be like a virtuous public servant. And this series is basically putting them couple down notches down to the regular everyday salaryman who just happens to be a policeman stuck in this only side dispatcher squad, and basically things they do. It deals with a lot of real issues between the teenage prostitutions to smugglings to drug dealings to something more mundane like traffic controls and all the tolls that takes on having to work overtime and having to deal with your crappy coworkers who's either too high on this police spirit and what have you. Uh, so the drama is basically focusing on this rookie cop who became the police just because she was taking every public servant exam, and this was the only thing that she was able to land it on, and she was already deciding on wanting to quit the job before she was assigned to be under watch of someone else who was a high-flying policewoman who got demoted to her current position due to, well, basically butting head with everybody else. And she's trying to learn her craft as a being a cop without actually trying to getting too discouraged over. Um, so that's really in a nutshell. Uh-oh.
What?
Whoop. What happened here?
Oh, don't worry. I just turned off the screen sharing. I forgot I had left that on.
Whoop.
It says stream is closed.
Yes.
Well, that's not the actual stream. That's the stream on Discord. Remember, I was sharing this.
Oh.
I was
Oh,
sharing
okay,
a
got
screen.
it.
Okay, so
Okay.
we're still going.
Yeah. Sorry.
Okay.
I forgot to
Okay,
close it at
yeah,
the beginning.
Alright, so gathering my thoughts. I do have a family member who's in a law enforcement, so I've been trying to get her to watch it, and I did hear a lot of crazy tales of what actual police work pertains to. So I did send a couple of scenes from the manga itself, which actually the anime series do follow pretty closely. And her take is that, yep, that's true, yep, that's true, and yep, that's true too. So even though it has a disclaimer of this is based on fictions and none of the persons or resemblance is purely coincidental, but then that's the same thing with the Law and Order. They use the real life events and kind of fictionized just enough to make it believable without actually getting into trouble. And I believe this series is kind of following the same way along. That being a police is not all glory, but we did a lot of grunt works and having to deal with the crappy coworkers and having to suck up to the public, even though they sacrifice so much of their time doing, so much of their time doing things that's supposed to be right, but they do question some of the rationale themselves, but they can't exactly come out and tell the public that, yeah, we're doing this, even though it makes no sense to us either, but we gotta follow what we gotta follow. So they kind of work doing the whole delicate juggling act of doing what's right and doing what's proper. So if anybody has any interesting in sort of a more believable drama type, this will be something that you could watch it. And also watch it about 2 episodes, and they'll give you a good idea as to whether you want to keep up with it or not. I read a manga and I liked it enough, so this was basically a no-brainer to me. I must say that opening and the ending is driving me crazy. It's just so out of nowhere. It's very jarring.
All right. Thank you, man. Uh, let me see. Next up is I don't even know what this show is called. Kimetsu no Yaiba?
Haha, funny.
Yukakuhen? Yeah, I don't know this show.
Har har har.
So Albert, you saw it?
Yeah, I saw all of it. I pretty much marathoned it once it actually finished. It's a short number of episodes. The first half of season 2 was essentially taken up by splitting the Mugen Train arc into episodes. So I just watched the very last episode of that just to make sure I I wasn't missing anything, and then I went into this story arc, which is the Entertainment District arc, and yeah, unlike previous, um, they essentially crammed all the good fighting bits into the second half of this, and they just kept going. So it is some incredible animation by UFO Table, and the story is decent. The characters are interesting. The hashira, the pillar that they are working under in this arc, is very bombastic and loud. A very different kind of loud than the flame pillar. This is the sound pillar. Anyway, yeah, it's pure shonen action at some of the best animation that you can have currently. So if you're into shonen genre, definitely check it out. If it's not your thing, then I totally understand. But if you like the first season, then watch it. It is still extremely popular, even though the manga has ended. And this is a cash cow, so I'm sure the following story arcs will get animated at some point. But yeah, it was quite incredible animation.
Yeah. This show. Woo! I pretty much did what you did, except for I didn't wait till the end. I binge watched the first, I think it was like 8 episodes, and then I watched the last few, week by week. Because I was getting to the point where it's like, oh, there's probably going to be so many spoilers, or there was actually a lot of spoilers and a lot of things already being released. But it wasn't too spoilery for me because I have read past this in the manga. But I kind of didn't want to get spoiled with the animation, because the animation is what makes it for this show. And those fights and everything. I mean, just the fluid motions, the sequences that they go through in these fights just look amazing in this animation. So a lot of people are starting to post a lot of these fight scenes, and I was like, oh no, I can't keep on dodging these, so I might as well start watching it. So then I did, and then left the last few. But yeah, there's not much else to say, because like, if you're in this bandwagon, you're definitely have already seen this. And if you're not, then you're quite a ways away, and you need to start from the beginning. So, but what was it? Was it like only 10 or 11 episodes or something like that?
I think it was. Actually, I could check. 11 episodes.
Yeah, so it's still a decent size, I would say, but it's not a full length season, but it's still real fun. Um, Jessica, did you want to talk about Kuroshiai or not?
I'll bring it up just because it's weird. I did end up dropping it. Do you guys know anything about it? Should I give it a rundown?
I think you told us at our last get together.
Okay, so you have a
It was
passing
Assassin.
familiarity with the premise and the setup, and for me, the tone sort of ruined it, because I thought I was going to get a romantic comedy, but it's not really, except when it tries to be, and then it completely falls on its face because it wants me to take the fact that these are murderers, and they're very, very dangerous murderers. And so, crap, I forget the male love interest's name, but basically the guy who has a crush on Chateau, the female assassin, um, there's some scenes where he demonstrates that he is physically more powerful than her and can completely control her and pin her down, and that she has no way to leave him if he doesn't want her to leave, and that makes for some very uncomfortable viewing. I wish that it had kept to the the goofy kind of lovesick personality. That way you'd have the juxtaposition between this terrible murderous guy who, when his girlfriend calls him in the middle of a job, he gets all lovey-dovey and stuff. That part was hilarious. But I don't like the controlling, abusive part of his character, so it's hard for me to root for him. It could be, I will admit to this, I am taking this way too seriously. Because I sometimes do that, and I understand it. So if you like this show, there is nothing wrong with you, and there's nothing wrong with the show or for liking it, but it did not work for me on a fundamental level. And that's all I really got to say about it.
When did it get to that more darker thing? Because I don't remember that in the first few episodes. Or maybe.
No, it was, I think I watched 5 episodes of it. And it was probably episode 4 or 5 where he rescues her from another assassin, and they're in a hotel room, and he wants her to change because her clothes are all wet and stuff, and he basically is holding her there against her will and saying, look, we can do this my way or the highway, basically, and you got to do what I say because I will do it anyway. And it's just like, okay, this is a little too much for me.
Huh. I'm gonna have to go back and see that. So I always thought it was gonna be a nice, fun, playful thing, but I don't.
That's what I thought too, because it had some laugh out moments where he was, straight up torturing a dude, and then he calls Chateau and is like, Chateau Chan, and doing all this tee hee stuff and acting all silly, and then as soon as the call goes, he gacks the guy, and I thought that was straight up hilarious. So, I don't know. Let me know what you think if I'm completely misreading the room on this one.
All right. So let me go here to the next show. Oh my god, this show. This show. I have a lot to say, but I'll let Albert start, and then I'll destroy whatever he says if it's positive.
Uh-huh. Okay, so the show is in the land of Leodale. So I know people have a hard time pronouncing it, but in Japanese it's Liadeiru. So think Leah, the name, and Dale, right? Like the Dale. Um, so in the land of Leodale is an isekai, surprise, surprise, about a girl named Kana who, due to I think an accident, is paralyzed, and she, escapes into this game world. And then something happens. She awakens, and she realizes she's in the game world. And because she has like a helper system and all that, figures out quickly that it's been 200 years from the time in game when she used to play, and that she probably died in her real life. So she's essentially been reborn as her avatar, her player avatar, in this game, Leodale. And it's mostly a slice of life as she tries to figure out what's going on. She meets a few other characters because of the in-game system of fostering, which allows her to have, adopt kids and foster them for, I'm not exactly sure what purpose, but she has like, despite it being 200 years, she had adopted elf children and a dwarf child. So they still exist. So she eventually meets them. She goes on little adventures. Uh, it's it's a light version of a D&D adventure, except because she was one of the 7 skill masters in the game. She is very OP. She knows it too, but she is going around trying to find the 7 towers that belong to the other skill players, ranking skill players, and trying to revive them. After 200 years, they've kind of fallen into disuse. The kingdoms have changed, and her children have grown up, and she has grandchildren and grandchildren through them. And so, I mean, it's it's lighthearted adventuring with a slice of life. This kind of reminds me, gives me the vibe of, I've been killing slime for 300 years. That kind of anime, that kind of isekai genre. It did start off in the web novel, the Naroke web novel that became picked up and has a published novel and manga adaptation, and now this anime. So animation is okay, music is okay, voice acting is okay. It's just an okay show. It's not something that I would say you must watch it. But if you're dying for more isekai content, or if you're dying for more slice of life, it's not bad. But it's not something I would put on the highly recommend list. What about you, Tank?
All right, to me this show is trash, but it's watchable trash to me though. So I compare it to like the smartphone anime.
Oh, so funny you should mention that, because I know for a fact that the director has directed a lot of isekai, including the smartphone anime.
Oh my god. Okay, of
The
course.
smartphone anime is far, far worse because Protag is super generic and it's typical harem, right? And this gimmick, smartphone gimmick. Whereas here, it's at least a female character. Yes, she's overpowered, but she's not. She doesn't have like a reverse harem. She's just adventuring. She's got kids. It's a little bit of a different take and much more relaxed.
Yeah, but I'm gonna have to fight back on your the animations okay or good, whatever you want to say, because
I don't say it was good. I said it was okay.
okay, because like to me it was terrible, especially the horses and the wagon. Oh my god, I cringe every time I see them, and it drove me crazy. It kind of reminded me of the assassin anime with their
With the
horses and their
horses.
CG things. Oh,
It's
and
just not
there,
a good idea to have CG horses.
yeah, I even saw some scenes where I guess the layering was done wrong with the CG horses, so it it was just bad. And also, one other thing I noticed after a while, because I was watching this show and I'm like, there's something really off about this show, and I can't put my finger on it. There's just something bugging me. And then I started to notice none of the characters blink like you would
Uh,
see in some other shows. Just as they'll be talking, you'll see them randomly blink, which you know I think is a good pit into it. But this show, you'll have scenes where they're like talking and they'll be on screen for quite a while, just staring at each other, no one blinking at all.
Blinking is, animation that you have to animate. So why do that? Plus, when's the last time you saw a game character avatar blink?
It just threw me off so bad. It drove me
Uh huh.
crazy. I'm sorry. Like to the point where we started watching other shows, and I'm like, look, they're blinking, they're blinking. Why couldn't Lindale do this? but uh,
Because it's just special.
but I will say that we watched it and we had fun just with the antics that was going on. So we were more there for the story than animation, if anything, and just what kind of crazy stuff she would get herself into. Um, so I would say it's enjoyable in that aspect. Where if you just want to have some silly fun and just turn your brain off, this is a good show. But don't expect anything really really cool unless you like this giant penguin or something. But
Let's move on.
yeah.
I'm more interested in what Jessica has to say.
Oh,
Uh,
this show, right?
Oh, is
yeah,
that my ranking of kings?
indeed.
Wait, let me see if I can
Ah,
find this.
It,
It came out in fall, right?
yes, it's
yeah,
23 episodes. It's an odd number. I was
eh,
actually a little taken aback when it ended because it was a good place to end, but I thought, well, shouldn't there be at least one more episode? I just loved it to death, so it
okay,
was
cool.
good. It was good all the way through. You got to watch it. Um I do have one criticism, but it is pretty spoilery, and I think that that criticism is pretty minor, all
Mm-hmm.
told. But I've never quite watched an anime like this before. With the character designs, the amazing animation, my goodness, and the story and the character work is that the show's definitely about the characters more than their current situation. So,
Mhm.
what are y'all waiting for? Watch this thing! Oh, and the other thing, though, that's really interesting is that I've run into people who don't normally watch anime, and they go,
Mm-hmm.
"Hey, Jess, there's this show called Ranking of Kings. Have you heard of it?" Well, oh man, so it has a lot of cross cultural appeal, I think.
Okay.
Um, because it doesn't look like your stereotypical anime. So if someone's turned off by that style, this could perhaps be their awakening to their otakudom. Because everyone in their innermost of hearts is an otaku. You just have to be at the right place at the right time to awaken it.
Mhm.
Yeah, do you guys have any questions that I can answer about this show?
I don't really. I mean, I know that Studio Wit. I know their animation's good. I um, was just wondering if at the end of two course it was going to be worth it, or if you were going to throw something through the TV. So I'm glad to hear that it's good, and I will certainly put it on my to watch list after three other shows I need to finish first.
Yeah, and please let me know what you think of it too.
Okay, will do.
So, what is this show about?
Oh,
Like,
okay. Well, it takes place in a land in which all the kings of the various kingdoms are ranked, and it's usually boils down to their physical prowess in battle. And so I think it's more of a prestige thing, but this the show is like an onion where you think you know what the truth is, you think you know who a character is, and then an episode or two later it's revealed that no, they're actually completely this other thing. And so that could still be true of the whole ranking system because not a whole lot of emphasis is put on that. It's more about the characters trying to navigate a world that really wasn't very kind to a lot of them and trying to reach that inner goodness and learn how to forgive and accept when appropriate, which I thought was something that I wasn't going to see in a shonen anime. Because usually, if someone does wrong, there's a lot of screaming and yelling and maybe a fight, and they punch each other, and then they're best buddies afterwards. And in Ranking of Kings, minor spoiler, there is a character that does very bad things to Boji, and eventually he realizes the error of his ways and apologizes. But Boji actually runs away and doesn't accept the apology. And that was pretty cool, I thought, because just because someone apologizes to you doesn't mean you have to accept it. Um, Nobody has a right to force you to do that. So just when you think that it's going in the formulaic, stereotypical way, it does a pivot and goes in a completely different direction. So it's basically Boji, this little deaf boy prince, trying to survive in a world that really doesn't want him to, that constantly picks on him and berates him for things that are beyond his control. And he finds a friend, because, shonen, and it's about their adventures and them trying to grow and become the best versions of themselves, is how I would describe it.
all right. I may have to watch it.
Tank, I think you would really like it. I will say that the first episode I wasn't too enamored with, but it was the second one that really drove home that this is a high quality work and that I need to watch it every single week without fail. So please watch 2 episodes before you decide whether or not to continue on with it.
Uh, Don't worry about quality. You know, I watch smartphone anime, so quality's no issue to
That's
me.
true.
So, let's go ahead into another show. Actually, a group of us wanted to watch this, but none of us had finished the first season. Like a lot of us were like few episodes shy of the first season being finished, so we never started the second season. But from all the on Twitter, we follow a lot of people who share a lot of like screen or the key animation frames or whatever you want to call them. We saw a lot of really cool things from this show, little really cool illustrations, and of course, I'm talking about, if I can find this title, Princess Connect Redive Season 2. Seems Vincent and Albert watched it. So is it just the same old antics, same things going on, or is there like
No, it actually progressed quite a bit. Um, so yeah, if you haven't watched season one, at first it seems like they're just going to be more of the same kind of lighthearted adventures, but you know, in the first season you do have this mystery of Pecco's backstory and what actually happened. You also have the backstory of Yuki and where he came from and what happened in his previous incarnation, shall we say. So all of that eventually comes to a head during this season. And I was actually not expecting that. I thought the story would kind of progress a bit, and maybe as kind of climax in season 3. But no, they get right to it in season 2. So there's a little bit of a tonal shift in some of the episodes. The animation is still spectacular. The guest Seiyu voices are great. Everyone does their little thing from the mobile game that this is based on. I guess, Vinny, I think, has actually played the game, so he can tell you more about how it connects. But it explains also why it's called Redive. Um, and yeah, I was thoroughly impressed by the 2 seasons of this that I watched, and I can recommend it to most people. Vinny?
Whoops, my screen kind of goes a little bonkers there. Oh, there we go.
Nice.
All right. Yeah, I'll just add a few things on what Albert said, which pretty much sums up nicely. You have to watch season 1, then progress into season 2. You can't just jump into season 2, since halfway through season 2, a lot of subtle hints that was dropped on season 1 is starting to make sense as it starts to take a shape into the end game, so to speak. And so if you just jump into season 2, you kind of are going to get lost once those goopy filler kind of episode ends and the storyline start to move along. And as for why it's called Redive, this is technically the sequel of the original series called Princess Connect, which I believe ended after 2 seasons, 2 years long. The service ended, they scrapped it, and they decided to reboot the whole franchise, and they call it Redive. And it ties into the main protagonist, Yuki's experience of his previous life under this kingdom. And it was subtle in season 1, but season 2 it becomes more explicit on his previous experience and his comrades that he once partnered with to be going on an adventure. And some of sort of premonition type of event are starting to slowly start to come true. and it started to make a better sense as to why certain things are done in such way, as to why Pecorine. I mean, season one explained as to what happened to Pecorine and why she's standing as where she is, but season two it becomes more explicit as to why she's there and what she must to do to reclaim her rightful place. And other pieces start to come to place where even the cattle, our poor cat, starting to have a more roles than just being a comic relief. Um, as far as animation goes, this is one of those rare ones that actually is much better in animation form than the original form. As Albert mentioned, that I did play the game for about 2 weeks. Game itself is basically your idling RPG. You just press the button, squad comes in, does the auto battles, take the routes, and just move on to the next storyline. And problem is that there's really not much engagement other than gacha aspect of it, where you're supposed to aim for those rare characters, except I found the regular characters to be more engaging than the rare characters, and there's too many rare characters in a random variety that I didn't really care for. So I lost interest in the game pretty quickly, and that was the end of it. But whereas in animation series, I could sit there and watch a couple episodes at a time, just tie up the little one neat arc and moving on to the next one, and so on and so forth, without really losing much interest. And the characters' engagement is just so dynamic. There's really not much idling movement. Everybody's very expressive, unless they have to be more somber. And that kind of gets the interest going. It's very colorful. Like many of the characters are interesting, if not just downright wacky. But most of them do have a reason behind their badness to it. So it's one of those series I really recommend people to at least give it a shot. Unless you hate this comedy drama thing, but otherwise you should at least give a first season a try. Then you'll probably move on to season two.
All right. I got like 2 episodes to finish of season one, and then I'm definitely going to watch season two. We need more kokoro in our lives. Let me see here. What's next? What is this called? Sabi Sabikui Bisco?
Yeah. Am I the only one that watched it? Okay.
I
Yeah.
believe so.
Yeah. So Sabikui Bisco, I picked it up because the first episode looked really interesting. It's kind of set in a post-apocalyptic Japan, where this thing called sabi, which actually means rust, but there's some sort of thing that's going on where everything is rusting. This wind blows, whatever is causing it, rusts everything, including people, right? And it's rumored that the rust was started and spread by these mushroom hunters, um, and mushroom, I think they're called keepers technically. Um, but when one such mushroom keeper, Bisco, comes to town, the young doctor called Milo ends up joining him to try to find the cure, which is called the rust eater mushroom. So it's very shonen-esque. I mean, it is a shonen. I think it was a light novel first, and then some manga. But I know that it was pretty well rated, and it's it's a grand adventure story arc, and I can tell you that through episode 1 through 12 is a complete story arc, so you can watch it and thoroughly enjoy it. The side characters are unique. The post-apocalyptic landscape where the rust has taken over, and there are different communities trying to eke out a living, and the mushroom keeper Bisco rides on top of a giant crab. It's very um, yeah, it's kind of cool. So with all that in mind, if you are into shonen genre, if you like more of the adventure, yeah, this show might scratch that itch. It's not for everyone, obviously. There are scenes of like torture, and there people lose body parts. Um, so it is violent, and the themes of trying to do something for your community or for other people, that still rings true in this genre, but um, it can get slightly muddled when you have a comically villainous villain. Um, so yeah, overall, I did enjoy it. It's not the top of the genre, but the setting was unique enough, and I really liked the characters, um, and and yeah, overall, I think again, if you like shonen, check it out.
All right. Is it okay to skip Attack on Titan, or
Is it finally done? I don't even know.
I don't know either. That's
I think
us.
I'm
Jessica.
behind on it. This is supposed to be the very last season, though.
But like the season is this is final season part 2 currently,
Yes, this
right?
is the final season.
Is there a final season part 3, or is it actually ending? I
I
don't
think it's
even know.
actually, at
Okay.
least how it's lining up with the manga right now. I'm probably 5 episodes behind. They can definitely wrap it up in 5 episodes.
Okay.
Yeah. Then they release an OVA and then a movie and then.
The prequel and episode 0 and okay.
So then I guess we also got, what is this? Slow loop.
Oh, yeah, who watched that?
I
Am
think.
I the only one? All right.
Yeah.
Briefly, Slow Loop is based on the manga that I've actually read. It's about cute girls doing cute things, and in this case, it's fishing. And
Oh.
hey, wait a minute,
Wait.
what?
I'm sorry. Someone from chat just said that there's a part 3 confirmed.
Nice. There you go. Well, Jessica, when she comes back, is going to. Anyway,
Sorry.
back to Slow Loop, right? Slow Loop is based on manga. Cute girls doing cute things, and it's about fishing. We did already have a fishing anime, Hokago no Teibo Nishi, which I can't remember how they translated it, but about the girls, club, the fishing club in high school. This one is not a fishing club or anything like that. It's about two siblings, but they're siblings by marriage, right? So there are one siblings, Hiyori's Hiyori's mom remarried the other sibling Koharu's dad. So, um, and Hiyori has always been into fishing. Koharu lived in a prefecture without the ocean, so she's super interested in the sea, and then meets Hiyori and becomes interested in fishing. And because she did all the housework after her mom, passed away, she's really good at cooking. So it's a show about fishing and cooking and you know finding new family. So uh, it's fine. um, it's not. If you want a fishing anime, I think you would want to watch the other anime I mentioned, Hokago no Teibo Nishi. Um, I think that one is closer to real sea fishing. even though the girls here do go out fishing on a boat, it's just much more of a slice of life um, than actual fishing, and it's got cutesy animations and chibi forms, but it's not high on my list of recommendations for a fishing anime. If you like slice of life, check it out.
So is it slow paced or what's with the slow?
Oh, it's kind of a reference, I believe, to the fact that Hiyori only actually really knows how to fly fish, and so when you're casting, you have to loop the. It's called looping, but you have to use the weight of the line of the fly fishing line to try to uh, try to throw cast your little fly further, because the fly itself is very, very small and very, very light. So if you've seen fly fishing in real life, you see them going back and forth with their rod, and you see the line going back and forth, right, before they can actually cast it. So you need to build up momentum.
I see.
I think. Don't quote me on that.
All right. Wow, this is the only show all of us have seen together? This next one? Let me see if I can find the. Here it is. My Dress Up Darling, also known as Sono Bisque Doll wa Koi wo Suru.
Close enough.
All I have to say is after episode 5, I think that's when everyone was like, gah!
What happens in episode 5?
That's the train ride home.
Oh, yeah.
And also the many faces of Marin because of her cosplay.
Pretty much. I think this is the show that most people have watched this season. At least I'm sure all the male otakus have watched it. Marin
Yes.
is top tier waifu material, as they say.
Yeah.
But what about the female point of view, Jessica? What did you think?
I have feelings.
Yeah.
On the one hand, this series gets the award for best beach episode ever.
What?
Because
yeah.
See, Albert, a man of culture, agrees with me, so you know it's true.
Woohoo! Finally.
There's not a bikini or bathing suit in sight. There's a very aggressive seagull. And they talk about their relationship and their feelings, and then they go home, and it's wonderful. But then on the other hand, you have poor Marin, who gets overheated on her first cosplay venture, and she's having a very serious medical emergency, and the camera just leers at her, and it was so uncomfortable. Just, no! Yeah, I don't think I have to explain why that is bad. So I'm kind of in two minds about this, is that it is funny and it makes me laugh out loud, especially the button scene. I don't think I've laughed that hard at an anime in a very, very long time. And the actual message that in the theme of that anyone should be able to like what they like, and that's okay. There are many ways to enjoy a hobby, and each one of them is valid. If you're a man and you like quote unquote girly hobbies, that's fine. And I think that that's a great message to impart. I just wish it wasn't as skeevy, but then this is for men, right? That this is a seinen manga.
I think it's a seinen manga. Yeah.
Right, right. So I get that there's going to be the inescapable,
Fan service.
fan service and stuff, but it really shows the strength of its core message is that I can watch it and enjoy it and pick up what it's putting down despite the fact that there's a lot of TNA in this.
I felt
There's a
that
lot.
I felt that that was actually kind of there was a lot, but they kind of put it like in episodes. Like they would have one episode and then an episode without it, and then an episode with a lot of it, and then an episode without it, or toned down.
Kind of, yeah.
It toned down a bit in manga, but the first two volumes are just chock full of that. I was actually getting a little uncomfortable reading it.
Mm-hmm.
Don't read it on the train, as they say.
No,
But
And
no.
see, it's such a missed opportunity because you can have the fan service because she is wearing outfits of characters that and she's confident in her body. She's not body shy at all. So there are scenes where that would be appropriate or at least okay. I just don't like it when you have an opportunity to discuss, okay, what happens if you do overheat in your costume. um, that is a serious thing. What kinds of first aid should you do? And instead, it's just we're gonna zoom in on her heaving bosoms for a while, and then she'll just miraculously be okay afterwards. So,
where did you watch this on? Out of curiosity,
Crunchyroll.
did you ever read the comments underneath that episode?
As a rule of my internet life, I never read any comments anywhere.
Oh my
It's a
god, the
good rule to
comments
live by.
were so hilarious underneath there.
What they say,
A lot of crude things, but like one of them,
I'm sure. Yeah.
it was just too though it was hilarious. A lot of the comments they made, but there was another message that I really liked, and that I tried to show one of my friends and point out, which was in the first half of it. Like you said, it was about loving what you want to love and everything, but the other thing it was showing and showcasing, and I told my friend, dude, this is definitely something you should take to heart. Is that just because you love something doesn't mean it's going to be easy.
Yes. Yes.
That
Good point.
that you it's going to be hard, and you have to put your heart into it, because if you love it, you're going to want to do it regardless. And
Mm-hmm.
I just love that message in the, I think it was episode 4, that it was really pounding that through, and I was like, oh.
Yeah,
And I
it does. I mean, if you look at the net positives, it definitely has more net. It's a net positive show. Is that its flaws do not inhibit the core tenet of the series that much, and that is a really good message to have. Along with your hobby is yours, and you can love it regardless of who you are. Because they briefly talked about male cross players, just real briefly. And I think Gojo said something about how cosplay is a really amazing hobby that anyone can do it. And I thought that was really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I do agree on that point, but I wish they had gone. So later on in the the story arcs, right? You're introduced to another cosplayer that Marin really loves, Juju.
Mm-hmm.
I forget what her actual name is, but Juju has her little sister who is a giantess compared to her, right? Juju is the small lolly-looking high schooler, but her middle school little sister is 180 centimeters. Like she's a giant in Japan, right? And then she is also interested, but she wants to be crossplay as a male and certain character types. So out of respect, I don't do that, right? But I kind of also disagree with that statement because there are plenty of people who would love to cosplay and do cosplay, and they get criticized because, well, the color of your skin doesn't match the character, so you shouldn't. And I just don't think that's the way we should be going. So, it's fine that you're putting limits because you feel uncomfortable, but at the same time, I feel like there should have been the opposing view of, yeah, I don't fit the character type, but I'm going to change the character enough so that I can still be that character that I love, right? I wish there was that opposing view.
Doesn't
Or,
when they're having a sit down conversation between Juju and her sister, doesn't she kind of, because she says, "Oh, I could never play that because my body type doesn't work and stuff." So she kind of then looks at her sister and sees that, here's this giantess who crossplayed when she's got a double D chest or something, and she was able to pull it off. So I feel like maybe she's starting to come around to that viewpoint. Do you feel the same way?
maybe I thought that was a good point that you can do quite a bit. I didn't know about all those you know um, uh, what is it, clothing options that will help you change your body shape. I mean, I
Mm-hmm.
knew some of it. I've certainly was Priscilla, Queen of the Desert, right? Or they're men performing as women, and they have all these tricks to make themselves look more feminine. Um, so I know about that, and I'm glad that they did bring it up so that Juju's sister can crossplay as a male character. But I wish there was a little bit more of it, right? And they don't really discuss because this is Japan, right? They're all Japanese, and they don't really discuss the fact that there are the anime characters, despite having a very Caucasian look to them, it's just anime characters, right? But here in the States, all of a sudden you have a Latino or a black or any other uh, ethnicity trying to portray an anime character. Some of them get criticized, and
Mm.
I don't appreciate that, seeing that being um, that attitude, basically. So it blows up on Twitter once in a while or whatever, and then it blows up sometimes at cons. But it just, yeah, that's just some of my viewpoint. As weird as I've gotten older, I seem to be more intolerant, but at the same time intolerant of people being intolerant. So
Agreed. Definitely agreed.
So
And
yeah,
I wish that they had talked about the negative parts of cosplaying a little bit more, such as how sometimes people get a little handsy at cons and stuff, and during cosplay sessions. How there are creepers and things. I don't know if that would necessarily have meshed with the tone of the anime series overall, but I would have liked an acknowledgement that that does exist. But
Mm.
then again, it's kind of from Gojo and Marin's perspective of how, oh, this is so much fun. And I honestly liked the episode where they went to
so
the Love Hotel and she was just, oh, it's so fun. I love cosplaying. I'm having so much fun right now. That was a really sweet and open moment in a very skeevy place.
Yeah, right next to the vibrator of all things. Like,
I
oh.
know, yeah. But it was just such this innocent, oh, I love cosplay. And then, yeah.
and it was.
so about
It,
those issues, Jessica, that you're talking about, I don't think it would
Mm-hmm.
have came up so much because if you've noticed, I think it was only the first event that was actually in a public place. Most of it was focused just purely on the cosplay rather than the events that they go to.
That is true. That's a very good point. Yes.
So I think trying to put that into there would have not meshed well with
Not
it.
not worked. Yeah.
Yeah, but the other thing which I thought was kind of weird is like even if you mention size and things, there are ways to get around that. I've seen some people or even some animes that do it that make fun of like they'll make oversized props to make them look smaller, so that even though if
Oh.
they're large, they look smaller because of the things around them.
That's really interesting because you could get away with a lot of that in Photoshop. And I think, what was it? They said in one of the episodes, oh, well, we can't do this, so we'll just have to try it digitally or something. Was it her? Yeah, it was her teeth. She wanted the shark teeth kind of thing.
Yeah.
And she thought, well, we can always do it digitally. I thought that was kind of interesting too.
But there's always
Think
ways around it. And they did confront some of the actual cosplay um, things that cosplayers face in events, such as her wearing short pants rather than wearing what she would normally want to wear as a cosplayer,
Mm-hmm.
because she is in fact underage, and they have certain rules for underage cosplayers and stuff like that.
Yeah, it does. I think there was a sign about that, and Mari did her due diligence to make sure that she has underpants instead of a original costume that consists of for the character to avoid that issue. Um, some of those issues that you mentioned about the other not so glorious part of the cosplay, if they make season 2, I think that will be the time frame where those aspects will come up, because there's certain issues that came about in later volumes that Jess was talking about. So if they don't make season 2, I think that's where it will show up. And as for the little sisters not being hesitant towards doing the cosplay, I think part of the problem is that she sees her older sister's cosplay being such a perfectionist that she fits the type. She's very conscious about making sure that her body type and the character that she portrays works to perfection. So she was in the so much distress about not wanting to let her down, on top of trying to live up to the expectation, and she realized that the character that she wants to portray doesn't really fit her body type, and that was what essentially what was causing the problem. And only other series that I could think of my head that actually goes pretty deep on positive and the negative aspect of a cosplay and character and gender mismatching was from Genshiken, second season. Oh, not in anime,
Oh,
but
I completely forgot about Genshiken. Yeah.
yeah. Remember, there's a character in the college circle that who likes to cross dress.
Yes, very vaguely because I watched Genshiken when it first aired, so it's been a minute.
Yeah, I do read that series from time to time, and every time I think about the cosplay. That always reminds me of some of that.
So, Vinny, how does the anime stack up to the manga, and would you recommend reading the manga?
If you liked the animated series, you should definitely read it. It's very faithfully recreated. Minus, they did actually take slight liberty on taking out some of the fan service part of it. So this is actually a trimmed down version of it.
Okay.
In
Okay.
manga, especially earlier volume, there's even more fan service. They did cut down some of the trims that deemed it was really not necessary. But the storyline follows more or less the same. Uh, Pacing is pretty good. I know Tank has issues with the beach scene. I thought that was kind of like an experimental kind of look to it, because it's so different from the other parts of the episode and the rest of the series. And the Tank really didn't like it too much. I thought that was interesting. But outside of that, its manga follows it very faithfully. Well, actually, anime follows the manga very faithfully. So you should definitely read it. I think it's up to volume 7 or 8. So it actually goes far beyond and actually brings up some of the other issues that usually causes the cosplay causes that you'll run into it.
So
I'm
Cool.
sure
Thank
there's going
you.
to be a second season. I mean, this is a very popular anime.
yeah,
There's still more material, and Cloverworks just really kicked it out of the park, you know.
yeah,
So I'm looking at the list of episode directors, and it's kind of all. I mean, there's recurring names, but all the episodes have uh, different lead episode directors. So that could be part of that what you mentioned. I really enjoyed episode 12 with the fireworks and
Yeah.
the summer festival, and especially also how it ended. Kind of gave the old Hollywood trick of showing two people in bed when you couldn't at that time show two people in bed, right? So they had the split screen as they're talking on the telephone, and this is exactly that. They're talking on the phone. Gojo is falling asleep. Marion is talking to him. They have like a split screen, so it looks like they're right next to each other with the phone in the middle, and I really enjoyed that. But yeah, it's a recommend. If you hate fan service, then this is probably not. Even with everything that we've talked about, there is a lot of fan service. Even if it's cut down from the manga, like Vinny said, once you animate it, it it gives an extra dimension, the movement and the
Mm-hmm.
duration. You can't skip over a panel like you would in a manga. You're watching it, and if the fan service is going on for 10 seconds, you're gonna get 10 seconds of fan service. So if you hate fan service, this is probably not the show for you. But otherwise, if you don't mind that or can look past that, I thought it was a really well done show.
So, uh, I just want to add, and it's nothing too bad, but that beach episode, the only issues I had with it were I didn't like how pastel it looked or how bland it looked. Plus, also, I don't know if any of you ever noticed that they misdrawn certain lines in a lot of the animation. Like, there's even a scene where she's walking, you can see her ear. They got the shading for the inner ear, but they have no lines of the ear.
Oh, I did not notice that.
Mm.
So,
But I
Yeah.
will say that again with the Love Hotel episode, when she blushed, her little elf ears did not blush. They just drew the blush on her normal ear and not the apparatus, which I thought was a really cool touch.
yeah. But wonderful thing. And I think they actually have enough content now that we could easily get a second season with what's been released in the manga. And I don't know if you know, but the person who sang the ending credits for the show, she has a YouTube where she's been doing like these live feeds and everything in cosplay as Marin. What they're talking about, I don't know because it's all in Japanese, but they did have that
Mm.
on YouTube.
Yeah, I
Where,
think on the album cover, she's the one dressed up as Shizuku-tan, I believe.
yeah,
I might, yeah, I think that's her.
yes.
So,
So she's dressed up as her before as well on those live feeds, as but I don't know. I think they have them all on her channel still. That if you wanted to go check those out, that's somewhat interesting. But let's go ahead and move on to the next title, huh? What do you guys say?
All right.
This next title, it looks like I'm the only one who watched out of this group, which I kind of want to say I want to highly recommend. Um, it's called Tensai Oji no Akaji Koka Saisei Jitsu, or The Genius Prince Guide to Raising a Nation Out of Debt. And it's really fun. It's really a great show. It's one thing, it's not an isekai, so that's pretty fun. It seems to be set in, in a time where I don't know how to explain this because it's like kind of the same setting as most isekais, but there's no magic in this world, as far as I can tell. There's been no magic abilities going on, but you got Wayne, the prince, or of this country. I think he was a prince. I can't remember if he was ever called the king, but he's running this whole thing, and the whole thing about it is that he's sick and tired of this pristine life and having to rule and having to do everything. So he wants to get rid of the country, but the way it is now, it's not going to benefit him, or he's not going to be able to do anything. So he decides that he's going to try to get this country back on its feet, get it nice and good, so that he can basically sell it or get rid of it and live a nice slow life in the country. So everything he's doing and everything, even at one point, he's like, I don't care anymore. Let's just run this kingdom into the ground and have someone take over it. But everything tends to turn around and work out in his favor. And at the beginning, and then as you go on, you realize he's really a really good schemer and knows how to do things. But you also eventually find out that a lot of the schemes he does is really based on a lot of his luck. Like things will just be happening. He's like, you're like, oh man, I can't believe he planned it this well. And he's like, whew, thank goodness those guys came in at this time, or else I would have been screwed. So it has this really fun thing with the prince and running the kingdom. He also, to add exposition on anything that we might not understand, they do it in a really fun way where his little sister's getting lessons by a teacher, and they'll like explain things like, oh, this kingdom here is this, and then it's just like, why is this like that? And instead of just having a narrator tell us everything, it's kind of like this little sister's getting this lesson, and it's also teaching us about what's going on and why certain things are happening in this world. But they don't have us sitting there forever listening to this stuff. It's pretty quick, I believe, so that we can get back onto the story. And then you also have Neenum, which is Wayne's. I kind of want to say, I can't think no if it's his secretary or his follower, whatever she is. But the the duo between them and their play on words or always messing with each other is really great and fun, and it's very, I kind of want to say wholesome, because it's just so silly that they're back and forth, and you could tell, he's the master, he's the one who's doing everything, but to him he's like, I'm not anyone special, we're just two people just living our lives, and we just happen to be in these extra circumstances, and we're just friends here, and she treats it that way as well. So they're always together and doing just silly stuff, and he's just himself in front of her too, not being his whole keensome, or his keen persona, as you would say. So it's really fun to see him react and play around with her. And but it does have some battles, some more, because of some parts that are happening within the kingdom, and then also you have some kind of religious faction in there as well going on. But it's I don't know how to explain it. It's just really fun. It's better than, I think, the
Realist Hero.
Realist Hero, yes. So
Yeah, that's what I've heard too.
so it's really good because of that, and I don't know, just something about it. It just the Wayne is just this character that you just kind of love, and he's just his silly nature, his laid backness, and his character is just really fun. Um, I would kind of want to recommend it to people, but then again, I can kind of see why people wouldn't want to watch this or wouldn't get into it. But if given the chance, I would say give it a try. I mean, if you have nothing else, it's decent, it's good, and maybe you might enjoy some of it. But other than that, I don't think I'll say too much more, because just go out there and watch it. Uh, Next up, did you want to talk about Vanitas, or whatever you call that show?
Vanitas. Just briefly, it's the second season. I watched the first season. It was entertaining, mainly because Vanitas is voiced by Natsuki Hanae, who's pretty popular these days. He's the voice of Tanjiro, but he was also the voice of Odokawa, the Walrus, in Odd Taxi. Right, so he's got some range. Vanitas is very bombastic, loud, um, all that. So season two is a little weird for me. I did not enjoy it as much, even though there was more story being revealed. It just felt something about the pacing, and I kind of felt like the direction was also different than the first season. But it turns out the director is the same person as season one, so I don't know why. It's divided into two story arcs. Um, the first one is about the beast of Gévaudan, um, which is uh, it's a historical, semi-historical story about a giant beast that supposedly was originally chalked up to be a werewolf that killed a number, tens of people in this region in France. And it obviously in this semi-historical steampunk magic vampire world, it's a vampire, right? So they go to investigate that, and the second part reveals more of the backstory as this child, Mikhail, shows up and claims that Vanitas is his older brother, and so there's a mystery about that and backstories and whatever. But I don't know. I don't know if I'm gonna continue. Despite my love for Jean, the Hellfire Witch, I just feel like the story feels really disjointed for some reason. I don't know why, and I haven't really put that much thought into it. But that's it. It's I don't know if you like season one and watch this and you come off with an odd feeling, let me know because I'd like to know why I'm not quite feeling it as much as season one. It just feels odd to me. That's it.
All right. Um, I think that's it for the season, right? Television seasons and everything.
I think so.
Let's take a look.
I think we went through everything on the list. The only thing left on
Yeah,
the
we
list
did.
are the movies, which did we discuss that last time, or is it
Yeah,
just
we discussed Bell last time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
so? I think the only movies that have come out now was that Sing a Bit of Harmony and Jujutsu Kaisen Zero, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Mm.
Jujutsu Kaisen Zero is doing really well at the box office. I thought it was going to be just a one night Fathom event, but no, it got a actual release and it's raking in the dough. So
Yeah,
good
I
for
actually
you.
went to see it.
You did. Okay.
Yup. I really liked it. I went in with pretty tempered expectations because usually anime movies that are based on a long running manga series tend to be pretty blah. But I
Mm-hmm.
had a really good time, and I dragged two friends along
Mm-hmm.
who had never seen Jujutsu Kaisen, and they really liked it too.
Yeah,
So
you
it's a
don't.
great. Oh, go ahead, go ahead.
Yeah, you don't really need to because it's a prequel film, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's in fact, from what I understand, it's the mangaka's first attempt at at a story in the Jujutsu Kaisen world. So he really did write it first, I believe. I could be wrong about that, but my understanding was he wrote, a short story about Okotsu Yuta, and then after that he decided to actually make a full series, and that became the story of actual Jujutsu Kaisen and Yuji Itadori. Right. So yeah, and I thought it was a stellar cast. You get actual backstories to some of the second
Mm-hmm.
years that you meet in the main story, um, and the yeah, interesting backstories about their teacher Gojo Sensei and the antagonist of the entire series, and some
Mm-hmm.
weirdness going on with that too. And were like, I think he made a mistake, But um, all of that said, it was very, very enjoyable. My showing that I went to was really well attended, um, and as far as I know, it might be. I know it was pulling close to the upper tiers of anime movie releases, just because
Really?
yeah, I could just check real quick. Zero film revenue. Uh, Box office. Jujutsu Kaisen grossed. How about in the U.S.? There's not. I can't find it real quick. Yeah, I'm not sure. It is doing really well though. Racked up to. So that's just for the single week.
So
Yeah, it was second behind the Batman as far as revenues for a weekly, and
Wow.
I'm not sure about the total haul.
It
so
did about $29 million in U.S. and North America market so far.
Nice.
Yeah, which is sizable. Uh, Worldwide wise, it's about 149 million.
For anime movie, it's pretty good.
They made a killing.
real quick, we got someone in chat asking if anyone has seen Kotaro Lives Alone. I believe that's a Netflix special that was
Oh,
released.
No.
No, sorry.
haven't even heard of that one.
Hmm. We may have to check it out. I've seen some clips of it online, and it looks kind of somewhat depressing. I'm not too sure exactly what
The
kind of
living alone part.
what kind of thing it's going on. Cause like I saw there's this one clip where he's in a park and he's got balloons and he ends up drawing people's faces on it to I guess play with them in the park or something.
Oh, that is sad.
So that's why I'm thinking it's going to be a sad show. But I I noticed it on the list, but I never saw it being streamed anywhere. So I think it was probably one of those Netflix where they probably dropped it as a batch.
Yeah, it's a Netflix original.
So I might have to check that out and see how that is. I did not watch the Jujutsu Kaisen movie, so
Oh, I'm surprised.
yeah, I don't know. Jujutsu wasn't really a show I was into, so I didn't decide. I decided not to watch it.
Fair enough.
But I did watch that Sing a Bit of Harmony, and that was really good too.
Yeah, I missed out on that one.
But I think Bell, they were already talking about Blu-ray releases for May, so
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
so,
I'm tired of waiting, damn it.
so I think it was really weird because they showed that they were having normal releases, but Target had a special release version.
Steel case.
Ooh. Oh, no.
But other than that, I think we're done with this hangout, right?
I think so.
So I'd like to thank everyone for joining me. Once again, chat, Dragon, Warrior out there, you've been hanging out for us since the beginning. I'd like to say thank you for hanging out with us. Hopefully we were informative for you and you enjoyed what we had to say. Neo Yama, I think he said he was just listening, but it's fun to have our friends and stuff watching us chat about anime. Wish you guys would join us in here though. Have a nice fun discussion. I think we're gonna. I don't know when we'll do our next chat because I think this week's the first week they're going to start doing actual full releases of the spring, right?
And the alright, first episodes are dropping, so
Yeah.
Oh, no. I'm so behind.
So maybe the 24th we'll schedule for our next hangout. Do you guys think?
Yeah, that works for me.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah, so we'll probably, if you guys are there, you guys can prepare for the 24th of Sunday. If you want to join our group discussion, reach out to us. Reach out to me on Discord, Tenkun, and I'd also like to thank Iron Art. If you don't know who Iron Art is, just go to ironart.com. I think he's the artist that did these little chibis for us, and of
Thank
course,
Mm-hmm.
you.
Thank
we have
you.
Onzzy,
Mm-hmm.
Onzzy Art. I think he goes by. You can also find them on Instagram. Onzzy did the backgrounds for us, and he's already getting started for a spring screen, so it's gonna be real fun. I hope you're all excited for this new change. I hope you guys all like it. And other than that, let me see here. Thank you all. Yeah. Any parting words, anyone?
Watch more anime.
Pretty much.
Yep. So, bye bye, everyone. I don't know if any of you want to try to do something special, like join us on Discord or something as we go through what may the new season starts, just to have fun and just talk about, ooh, this might be fun, or we might do that someday. But other than that, bye everyone.